So while our head isn't fully finished, we still need to do the hair, which will be out on Friday. I was thinking we can move on to sort of the upper body. So today I'm going to be covering the neck and the chest. So in order to do the upper body, I actually took a little model and I put her on a really big canvas. If you're thinking about doing anything that contains more than just like the head and shoulders, you're going to want to put it on a really big canvas that's like much taller, just so you have the extra space to do it and move it around. So what do we need for the upper body? We need the neck, we need the shoulders, we need boobs if you have those, or just some sort of chest area. We need a waist and some hips. We do need the arms and stuff, but I'm not going to go through those today. I'll go through those another day, just because they need a little more work, because you've got like all the fingers and the wrists and stuff, and it's a bit big to do all in one video. So let's begin by drawing our neck. I'm going to take the color of the eyebrows here for the line art, and I'm using a symmetry tool. So draw your neck however you want. I'm going to draw just a little shape because this is just a tutorial, so it doesn't need to be perfect. Like I'm always saying, when you make this model, right, you're going to want to make sure you have connection, because sometimes when you move your head, the neck is going to be visible. So turn off your head layer pieces and just make a little round thing up here that can be hidden behind the head, so that when you move it, it isn't just gone. Now with the shading, I would recommend keeping this separate to the neck. Use your symmetry tool again and just make sort of a general shading shape. You can use either a darker color than the skin, or you can use like a multiply layer, but clip this, use a clipping mask to clip it to the neck. Okay, we have all our pieces labeled and we have all our pieces. So if you have like a necklace or something, separate it. Separate any pieces that you want moving. So your character may have a necklace that's sort of like a choker, and you can leave the band on one layer, and then if you have anything dangling from it, so let's just say you have a little bell that moves, put that on a separate layer so it can move separately, so you know whenever you're moving her head, that can move independently and look more dynamic. Now that we have our neck done, we need to move on to the chest. The chest is divided into many pieces, because obviously you have clothing on top, but I'm going to do both a female and a male chest. The male chest is a lot easier because you don't have to add the extra boobs on top, basically, because the way that it works with this is that you actually just create boobs as a separate like layer to sit on top if you want them to have physics. Let's just begin drawing that. So I'm using a symmetry tool again. So usually what I do is I will draw the general shape of the chest first, and then I will add the boobs on top. Okay, we have a very like rough outline. You can disconnect the shoulders if you want, but it's not super necessary because usually this part kind of stays stationary. If you wanted your hips to move, just disconnect this entire bottom piece, but for now I'm just going to keep connected because we'll do the legs in a separate tutorial, so I'll just separate it then. Depending on what kind of clothes you're wearing, you might want the shading on a separate layer, or you might want it on the same layer. So if you're wearing anything that you think is going to be flowy and moving, say you're just wearing like a little tank top, right, but it has like flowy bits down the end, you might want to keep the shading separate so it can move along with the flowy bits. Basically anything sort of revealing, keep the shading separate, but if you're just wearing a t-shirt or something, you can put the shading onto the body. So I'm going to put the shading onto the body and we'll just use a t-shirt for this example. As I just did there, make sure you blend the neck because the neck is going to be separate. So just make sure you blend it and obviously go a little bit behind it. So we have our general body shading. You can do it more complex than this, as always. If you want a man, you can leave it like this. Do your shading and then do a shirt. but the next section I'm going to do is like the boobs. So obviously if you don't want those, just leave those out. So with these, you're going to want to use another symmetry tool and just draw in your general boob shape. Go from like the under armpit here and bring it out a little bit. Obviously you can do smaller than this and do whatever shape you want. So this is the boob shape I'm going with. You don't necessarily have to color these in unless you're doing like sort of a revealing top. So if you have like a crop top with like a low neckline, I would color them in separately, but most of the time you can just sort of do minimal shading on them. If you want, you can color in this section here and keep that connected, but it's not super necessary. We have our chest shaded, so do whatever you want with it. As always, stylistic choices are up to you. Have these all in separate layers so you can move them more freely, but if you're wearing a t-shirt over them, you can probably just combine them, it doesn't really matter. So let's draw some clothes so you can see how this works. We have our t-shirt, and as you can see, the boobs are actually left out of the t-shirt. They're extended a little bit inwards so that there's no gap, but what you do is you actually draw them on top of the t-shirt again. So you're going to want to do the same thing. Just get your line art and then just follow along the shape you want to do and just color them in like normal. So as you can see, they're shaded. Obviously add in a bit more highlights so that they're, more 3D, but you just want them separate and you want them to overhang a little bit, and you want to color in everything underneath, because otherwise when they move there's going to be a gap of skin and that's not going to look good. If you want like a more flowy shirt, you can like cut off a piece like here, just so you can move it more, or cut off individual pieces. You can really do anything you want with this. So there's our neck and our upper body and our boob. I'm going to cover the hips more in depth when I do the legs, just so it's more fluid, because otherwise if I do it now it might be confusing without the legs being there, If you have any more questions regarding what we went over today, just please comment them and I'll get back to you. There's a lot more videos in this series. I have a playlist put together you can find on my channel. It should be linked below. So I'll see you on Friday, and let me know if you need anything.